Hey, real quick, before you scroll, listen to this. What if one of the loudest, wildest, most outrageous rock stars of all time ended his story not with a scream, but with a whisper? What if the guy who bit the head off a bat, who turned heavy metal into a lifestyle, whose voice could shake the walls of stadiums across the globe, closed his eyes for the last time, looked at the woman who had stood beside him through everything, and said, "I'm tired, but I'm not afraid." Yeah, that was Ozzy Osbourne's last moment, his final words. And today, we're going deep. Sharon Osbourne just revealed what really happened in those final days. We're talking regrets, love, a hidden letter, and a final gift that shook the music world to its core. This ain't just a recap. This is a tribute. This is a farewell. This is Ozzy raw, real, and unforgettable. Stick around. You've never heard a rock story told like this. So let's back up for a second, because before that final moment, there was silence. And for Ozzy Osbourne, Mr. Prince of Darkness, the man whose life had been nothing but noise, that silence, it was deafening. In early 2025, Ozzy was 76. Parkinson's was ravaging his body. Years of surgeries, infections, spinal issues, tremors, his body was just done. But his mind, that thing was still fighting. He was writing lyrics in the margins of newspapers, scribbling lines on napkins, whispering melodies to himself in the middle of the night. You know how some people go out with a whimper? Ozzy wasn't built for that. Even when his hands shook too much to hold a fork, he was trying to hold a pen. And Sharon was there through all of it. We'll talk more about her later, because her part in this, it's absolutely monumental. But in those last few weeks, their home was still, peaceful. Ozzy would sit by the window, just watching the sky, remembering. He once told Sharon, "I don't want to die being remembered as a headline. I want to leave something real behind." And that's where the final chapter really began. Now here's where things take a turn, because Ozzy had one final wish, one last show, but not a tour, not a stadium, not another No More Tours tour. He wanted something small, honest, in Birmingham, his hometown, where it all started. Sharon didn't question it. She didn't argue. She just got to work, quietly, behind the scenes. Phone calls, favors, everything under wraps. They booked a small venue, an old converted theater, maybe 2,000 seats max. No pyro, no media, no press releases, just a whispered invite passed through fan circles and music forums. Phones weren't allowed inside. The whole thing felt like a secret society meeting. When Ozzy stepped onto that stage, it was not the Ozzy you remember from MTV. He wasn't leaping off amps or screaming into the crowd. He walked slowly, cane in hand, with Sharon guiding him. The crowd didn't cheer. They didn't scream. They stood in silence, tears already falling. And then Ozzy sat down, looked out, and said, "Thank you for giving me a life I never thought I deserved." Now listen, this set list, it wasn't just music. It was therapy. He opened with a quiet version of Goodbye to Romance. Slower, softer. You could hear the weight in his voice. That song used to feel like a bittersweet love letter to fans. But that night, it sounded like a goodbye to the world. Next was Changes. Just Ozzy, a keyboard, and 2,000 people crying. He told stories between songs, about being broke in Birmingham, about the first time he heard the Beatles and realized music was oxygen. He talked about his dad, about being locked up, about being fired from Black Sabbath. And then, when he got to Mama, I'm Coming Home, you could feel it in the air. Everyone knew. This was it. He sang that last chorus with his eyes closed. And when the final note ended, no one clapped. Not out of disrespect, but because it didn't feel right. It felt sacred, like church. 17 days after that show, Ozzy passed away. It happened in the early morning at their home in Buckinghamshire. The window was cracked open. The breeze was moving the curtains. Sharon sat by his bed, and she said he looked at her. No fear, just this peaceful kind of surrender. He smiled weakly and said, "Tired. I'm tired, but I'm not afraid." That was it. He closed his eyes, and that was the end of the man who once screamed so loud the world couldn't ignore him. No chaos, no explosions, just peace. And when Sharon shared those words with the world a few days later, social media exploded. Not in outrage, in grief, in love. Fans from Tokyo to Toronto shared their favorite lyrics, their tattoos, their first concerts, their memories. It was like the whole world hit pause and whispered, "Thank you, Ozzy." A few days after Ozzy passed, Sharon posted a photo on Instagram. It was a folded up letter with his shaky handwriting across the front. "If you're reading this, I'm already with you." And yo, that letter, it wrecked people. Inside, Ozzy spoke directly to his kids, to Sharon, and to his fans. He apologized for missing birthdays, for the chaos, for the pain.
We all know it was breaking national news when Ozzy Osbourne passed away last week, right? But now apparently they have read the will, and it's come out that Ozzy has left it in his will that he wants flowers delivered to his wife every week until she is no longer living. Sweet thing, right? And I see a lot of women that look like me making videos about why would I ever settle for a man when even in death, Ozzy is treating Sharon well. And I hear you and I understand. But some of y'all may not know that Ozzy Osbourne tried to unalive Sharon multiple times. Ozzy Osbourne was into some very dark stuff at one point in time, and he was on drugs so heavy that he tried to unalive that woman. Okay, that's one. Two, because drugs were such a big part of his life, he would travel with Sharon, go out of the country, and forget that his wife was back in the hotel. And he would go out and pick up women, come back intending to cheat, and Sharon had to beat him and the woman up. Oh, and let's not overlook the fact that even though Ozzy was already wealthy when they got married, Sharon became Ozzy's manager and elevated him in his solo career. That's how they got that show. That's how we know Ozzy Osbourne. Let's just be real. So she worked in his business because he is the business. I just want to point out that y'all said y'all would never let a man cheat on y'all. I just want to point out that y'all said that y'all would never build a man up. I'm not working for no man. That's his business. He need to run it. Remember?
He thanked Tony Iommi for saving him with music. He told stories about Randy Rhoads. He confessed he still dreamed about being on stage, even when he couldn't move. And the line that everyone shared, the one that defined his goodbye, don't remember the madness, remember that I survived it. Chills, man. Actual chills. Here's something wild. Before his death, Ozzy had been working on a secret project, an acoustic album. No screaming, no distortion, just piano, strings, and raw vocals. It was called The Last Scream, and it dropped 3 weeks after his passing. Track 1 was just him and a guitar, singing Dreamer, like a lullaby. Track 4, a duet with Sharon. Yeah, her voice isn't trained, but you don't need auto-tune when your heart's in the right place. That song, they recorded it at home. Just them, one mic, no edits. Another track was just Ozzy telling his grandkids stories about being young, about messing up, about trying again, about forgiveness. Tony Iommi did one last riff, Post Malone added a verse, Elton John played piano, and somehow that quiet little record hit 1 on the charts. Not because it was marketable, but because it was true. Ozzy Osbourne isn't a legend because he was perfect. He wasn't, not even close. He cheated, he relapsed, he OD'd, he forgot lyrics mid-show, he bit a bat, he said things he regretted, he broke people's hearts. But here's the thing, he owned it all. He never pretended to be anyone else. He showed us the ugly parts, the broken parts, and the funny parts. And he made us feel like maybe, just maybe, we didn't have to hide ours either. That's why we loved him. Because he was a survivor, and not the kind that walks away clean. The kind that limps through fire with scars and a crooked grin. Ozzy's story wasn't just about music, it was about humanity. And in the end, his voice, whether it was screaming from a stage or whispering from a hospital bed, reminded us that broken doesn't mean worthless. So now, we carry him forward. Not as the Prince of Darkness, but as the man who gave everything, even when he had nothing left. If this video meant something to you, hit that like button, drop a comment, share your favorite Ozzy memory. Let's keep this energy alive. Ozzy Osbourne lived louder than most of us could ever dream, but when it came time to leave, he did it his way. Truthfully, quietly, fully. I'm tired, but I'm not afraid. Rest easy, Ozzy. You're finally home. Anyway, this concludes today's video. Be sure to subscribe to LoafTube for future celebrity videos and turn on that post notification bell so you don't miss out on any future uploads. Until then, see you in the next one.